Dan Sodergren is an AI and tech expert and can join me now. Dan, hello.
Hello.
We've spoken for years. You know how resistant I am to new technology. And also it means, poorly on my part, that I don't always get it. So OpenAI is allowing erotica in what sense? When I communicate with a chatbot?
Well, as you know, Nan, I do talks around the future of work, and as you say, I've been doing it for a very long time, especially talking about AI and this new world we're entering into is well, let's put it a different way. This might not be to do with the future of work, but of course it is. If you're an erotic author, of course, suddenly these AI machines can do your work for you. But of course, this isn't a moral question about erotica. Erotica and writings and things like that is old as the hills themselves.
And
of course,
all
the first caveman paintings most probably weren't. May have been naughty, but there you go. The printing press, in fact, was used. That was a piece of technology was used. It wasn't just used for Reformation. This is much more to do with whether OpenAI, that privately owned company, say, which is a juggernaut of AI power in ChatGPT, whether it should be allowed to go into this world, but more importantly, how is it going to monitor how this happens? And so you get into this very sticky wicket of, how do you prove how old you are when you're allowed to use a slightly naughtier version to create erotic works, or so to speak, around writing? So that's the biggest thing behind the scenes.
So is this just about writing? Because I thought with one part of this is you could have saucy exchanges, for want of a better phrase. Sounds very old-fashioned, doesn't it? But
well, saucy exchanges is fine. I think there's the writing part of it, and obviously we use ChatGPT for writing, especially around work. But there are other LLMs, large language models, that are better than that, like Claude, for example, and these other ones. Then there are things like Grok, and Grok's owned by Elon Musk.
No, I don't know
his
that.
AI. No, sorry. Okay, so Elon Musk bought Twitter so he could create an AI machine, which is called Grok, which is that kind of clever ChatGPT, but inside Twitter, and that's called Grok. Now, Grok has been creating these companions, these AI companions, which are not safe for work and a bit naughty, and just like Elon Musk, a little bit morally dubious. But he's allowed, of course, because he owns that company, and no one stopped him from doing it. What OpenAI, of course, is doing, and OpenAI being huge, it's worth 500 billion and has 800 million users a week, it's now saying we need to make an adult version so you can create not necessarily AI companions, but actually erotic works, but potentially moving into things like AI companions, because you've got to remember, we use ChatGPT now more for therapy than we ever have done before. And again, that isn't necessarily something we should be doing, but it's what human beings do.
Okay, I'm not going to comment about Elon Musk's morality, but in terms of how people are going to be protected, I'm talking about children, I'm talking about people who are vulnerable, in terms of who is going to watch what sauciness the chatbots or the internet, OpenAI, can interact with us. Who's in charge of that?
Well, and this is the big question, isn't it? This is where government should be stepping in, but we've also got to be careful of the second and third consequences thereof. If Sam Altman's saying we will create this adult version, but you have to prove you're an adult, the question is how do you prove you are an adult? Now,
and can I just jump in? How many conversations will you know that I've had regarding internet safety, regarding Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, loads of social media sites, in terms of what children are being exposed to and how much criticism is levied against those which own those platforms and others?
Absolutely. And now we're on to this next thing. So it was social media, then it's the attention economy, and now we're into this AI-driven, user-generated content. This is a brand new world, which I hate to say it, Nago, is actually, I think, a lot more dangerous than where we were before. And this is where governments really do need to start stepping in. Now, I don't know if you've seen the Sora app that they've also brought out. This is ChatGPT, which creates 10-second video clips. You upload your face if you wanted to, and you can use these 10-second video clips, putting you anywhere in the world with fake background, which you can barely tell the difference. You can't really tell the difference. You can't tell they're not real. Now, you move this into this next world that they're suggesting where there are adult versions of that. And I think it doesn't take, you don't have to take a genius to start connecting those dots and realizing that we could be in a very morally dubious world pretty quickly.
And also bullying online for children.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can create anything.
And also for if you don't even need to be a famous person for this to happen. It's happening to Michael Jackson and other folk right now. It could be your brothers and sisters and your family. Anybody now who you've got the picture of, you can start creating these fake videos about. And we've got to start educating the population that we're now in that post-truth world. That is actually quite a big thing.
Do people have AI girlfriends and boyfriends?
Oh, now that's a great question. Yes, they do, and there's more and more of this happening. Much more than you might think, or even think that it's funny to think about. There are lots of these. They're very, very successful. Exactly same with AI influencers and models. There are millions more than people believe. And the sad thing about this, of course, is that an AI girlfriend or boyfriend is always going to be nice to you. It's always going to be sycophantic. It's always going to be lovely. Not like a human being.
Wasn't there a rule though that they couldn't be? I keep using this word saucy because I just don't know what other word to use. They couldn't step over a certain line in terms of sexual content.
Well, yes and no, because it depends what large language model you're using to power them. It depends which country you're in as well, and depends what the governing laws are around it. It's a very, very slippery area, this. And if you look at what Grok's doing with its AI companions, they have got increasingly saucy as governments haven't been able to stop them. But the question, of course, is how would a government stop this sauciness from going on? And then, of course, the question is it the government's job to do so?
Well, isn't it?
Well, I would think so. I think that's why we have governments, is to stop things that we believe to be wrong to not happen. Just like, you can build cars that can go 100 miles an hour or 200 miles an hour. It doesn't mean you can go more than 30 in a 30. That's why we have these rules, isn't it? But sometimes the very rich and powerful don't have to listen.
What? Okay. If you're a parent listening right now, what should you be aware of? Because I can guarantee there will be, obviously, many, many more people who know more about this than me, and many, many people who know less about this than me, and that means they don't know very much at all, but need to be aware of what is going on.
Well, as a parent, you've got to be aware that there are things like artificial intelligences in things like Snapchat, which you most probably don't want your young person to be interacting with and using, only because they don't have tremendous guardrails on there, and they're also not trained therapists. There's a big problem at the moment that we have a lot of young people leaning on AI as therapists and friends, and that's a conversation you should have.
And we've had that conversation here on 5 Live, and I was horrified when I first heard it, but actually did hear some reasoning for using it in cases where people just wanted a point of view and some reassurance. But I completely accept that if that's not being regulated, monitored, then it hasn't been proved to not serve, has it? It's just proved to not be adequate, I think.
I think, again, we've got to be careful because we just say AI like it's everything. It's like different types of cars, etc. There are different LLMs, there are different machines out there, and there are different ways of doing it with different safeguards. There are now therapy apps that are out there that actually are very good, but they've been training on data for 3 years. It's the free versions of ChatGPT and other things that we use for free that are not trained to do this. And if you're not buying a product on the internet, you are the product. So if you're not paying for something, then you're either teaching their AI how to do it better, or later on in life, you're going to be served adverts and these other things, and you're basically being data mined. All these conversations that we're only just having in our generation, we need to teach both the generation before us and the generation after us, because it's happening to us all, because this is the fifth industrial revolution. This AI thing isn't going to go away. But what we need to do is to be training each other in this kind of digital green cross code that we've got to be a lot more aware than we were before. But of course, we can't be blamed because most people didn't even know that AI really was a thing until 2 years ago. So it's caught us all off guard.
In this post, Sam Altman, who is the boss of, I'm going to get this right, OpenAI, yeah? Mm-hmm. In a post on X said, upcoming versions of the popular chatbot would enable it to behave in a more human-like way. But only, and this is the quote bit, but only if you want it, not because we are usage maxing. What does that mean?
I think that's a lovely way of saying we're not doing this just because we know you like it. What's happened here is that there's been a big backlash when they changed ChatGPT 4 into ChatGPT 5. People who've been using it as a kind of a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a therapist and a friend noticed a massive difference. Because, of course, there was a massive difference. Its personality changed because the training data changed. Oh, in fact, the training data was changed and the algorithm changed, but it changed the personality. Now, people are so connected with this machine, which, again, is a worry, that they noticed that difference and complained en masse. Like, tens of thousands of people must have complained for it to go to Sam. And Sam's then said, okay, from now on, what we're going to do, we're going to make it so you can customize it a bit more yourself. And also, we're going to make sure that if you want to be able to access something which is a bit more adult, we're going to say adults only to this area. My concern with the adults only area is how do you prove that you're an adult? You've got to remember Sam Altman also owns the ability to zap into your eyes and biometrically test and have that kind of ID behind the scenes. He's also been pushing that agenda for a long time. So, the slightly conspiratorial version of me kind of goes, "Ooh, I'm a bit worried that a privately owned £500 billion company over in America now wants everybody's IDs in the UK and Europe." Maybe it's conspiratorial thought that, but I think we've got to be a bit careful when we start handing over vast quantities of data around our age and where we live, etc., to a company that has no governmental oversight. It's not controlled by any government at all. Certainly not ours, anyway.
I had a screech in my ear from one of my team who's now terrified. Liz has messaged saying, listening to this AI conversation is freaking me out. Probably less than a century away, we'll be walking around not knowing who is AI and who is a real person. They may even marry someone and find out they are not real. Thankfully, I'll be well and truly dead by then. Liz. Dan, what was going through my head? Can I step away from this? Can I actively not be part of this world? Or have I no choice?
There's a couple of things here. Number one, I'm not anti-AI, far from it. I think
okay,
AI
but I am not embracing AI, and some of it I just don't want to know about. I don't want to be a part of. I don't want to be dragged into. What could I do?
Well, it's a little bit like, my dad used to say the same about the internet or having an iPad, etc. These are things that he just refused to do, and so did so many bosses. I don't do emails. I have a secretary that does that. Those kind of conversations happened in my lifetime. This thing with AI can make you become 20%, 40%, 50% more productive at work. So we can't throw out the baby with the bathwater and just say we're not going to have anything to do with it, because actually it's got the potential to be the next industrial revolution and actually save millions of people's livelihoods. But it comes at a cost, and we've got to educate ourselves, just like we had to with electricity, that there are pluses and minuses, but actually, don't stick your fingers in the socket because it's got electricity in it now. Same principle here. Now, at that time, Dagger, would you have been the person holding a candle saying, actually, I'm not going to buy into this fad of electricity, I'm not going to use it because it can be dangerous? Well, that would be completely up to you, but it would be at some point you'd have a candle and maybe not such a great life. But again, I'm not here to say what you should do with your life at all. I just know that there are massive positives with AI. I'm not sure that the massive positive of having a girlfriend and boyfriend in AI, because that worries me too, Naga. I'm not going to lie to you. I think the next generation has to be taught perhaps that isn't the best way to go, because human beings need to survive. Oh, by the way, just a quick one to really spook Liz out. I think this will be happening in the next 2 to 5 years, not in the next 100.
Thank you for unnerving many of my listeners and me.
I'm
Dan
so sorry.
Sodegren, and I wouldn't ask you to tell me what to do, but sometimes I do wish someone would just make it easier and just go, no, this is the way you go. It is fascinating. Look, it's fascinating. I'm so glad we spoke about it. Dan, let's talk again sooner than 2 to 3 years and figure out how close this is to taking over our lives. Dan Sodegren, AI and tech expert, thank you.